Today I am going to give you the 5 steps on how to start homeschooling. My name is Debbie, and if you are new to this channel, I was a public school, high school teacher for almost 10 years, and about a year and a half ago, we decided to homeschool. So we started out with my oldest going into 6th grade, and once we, got the hang of it and we found out, wow, we really love this. About a semester later, we decided to pull out our youngest from public school for the second half of his 1st grade year. So we are now on our 2nd year. We have a year and a half. We're almost done, with our 2nd year of homeschooling, and we love it. We love it. I wish I would have done it sooner, actually. But the number one question that I get asked is, how do I start? What do I do? So I decided to give you the top 5 steps that I feel you need to get started. So number 1, you need to research your state laws for homeschool. Every state is different in regards to education. So the same applies for homeschool. Some states require that you register. Some states require that you homeschool under an umbrella charter school. Some schools require that you show a portfolio. Every state is different. We are in Texas, so Texas, their requirements for homeschool are very flexible. It's fairly easy to homeschool here, so for that I'm very thankful. But don't get discouraged if you look online for your state requirements and it seems really complicated. A lot of times it seems really complicated, but really all you need to do is submit a letter of intent every year. So sometimes it's really simple, and so don't get discouraged is my point. But I highly recommend that you research your state laws. Look into some of the homeschool groups in your area. On Facebook, there's a lot of homeschool groups. Just search it, and you can ask there. You can also go to the Homeschool Legal Defense Association, hslda.org, and I will post the link in the description below, and you can go check that website out, and that will give you all the states as well. So that's number 1. Find out what you need to do in your state so that you do everything the correct way. Number 2, you need to decide if you are going to choose a faith-based or secular. So everyone chooses to homeschool for different reasons. It's not just for religious reasons. So for us personally, we were coming out of public school. I taught public school. I attended public school. So initially it was never like, oh, because I want it to be a faith-based education. Our reasons for homeschooling were because we were going through the issue of bullying. And so it was more of a safety factor. And so when I first started homeschooling, the only way I know how is it being secular, because when you're a teacher, you're taught and you're trained to keep religion separate from schooling, from education. So initially, my first year, that's how I did my homeschool. But as I started researching more and meeting more families, and we are a Christian family, then I started to reevaluate, like, wow, I have this platform, I have the ability to be home and homeschool my kids, and our religious faith, our faith is something really important for us. And so little by little, I started changing our curriculum. And so I will say now that's my priority. When I'm looking for curriculum, I want it to be faith-based, and not just faith-based, but Is it a specific denomination? Is it a specific doctrine? Is it biblical? Are they sourcing scripture? These are things that I didn't look for at the beginning, but that I look for now. So that is something that you really need to decide. So I will say, if you do decide to choose secular, don't get discouraged that it seems as if all the curriculum out there is Christian based. There really is a lot of secular curriculum out there. You do have to do a little more research and just kind of more flip through the curriculum and make sure that what you're bringing in your home is something that aligns with your beliefs. There's a lot of curriculum that's very Christian light, as I like to call it. Where it just really talks about, God, but it doesn't really specify a lot of the doctrine in it, and so you may be okay with that. So just keep all of that in mind when you are searching for curriculum and how your homeschool is going to be. Number 3, determine your budget. So this is a really important one, especially coming out of public school, where you're not really used to the idea of paying for tuition. Now, a lot of people that are coming out of the private school sector, it's normal, you're used to it. It's not a big deal that you have to pay for tuition and that you have to pay for books and things like that. But when you're coming out of public school, it's a new idea, I guess, because we pay our taxes to the public school, and so it kind of gets it's funny. Now I know there's certain state laws that if you homeschool, you can get funding for that, and I don't want to touch that. It's very political. I'm here in Texas. It's in the homeschool community. It's very like, no, government, stay away. So I kind of have mixed feelings over that. But that's a whole other video. So your homeschool can be anywhere from free to very expensive. So you really have to determine what your budget is, what your priorities are as far as why you're wanting to homeschool. There are virtual public schools available that are free, but just keep in mind that isn't necessarily homeschool. It's just public school that you do at home online. So it is very different. You don't have any control over what curriculum you use. You don't have control over the pace. You don't have control, state testing, things like that. So there's nothing wrong with online public school, but just keep that in mind. A lot of people think, oh, I'm gonna homeschool, and they go that route, and then they fall behind. They have so much work, and so then they quit, and they really didn't give homeschool a try, the actual homeschool. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But if that is the best route for you, it's great. You have teachers that are certified teachers that are teaching your kids online. So I don't want to discourage you from choosing that option. I just want to make sure you understand that isn't homeschool necessarily. It's just public school done at home. But there are plenty of resources online, Facebook, the internet. You could go to the library. There's plenty of resources out there that you can easily homeschool for free. But as the parent, as the teacher, it is going to require a little more work on your part to research and to gather your lessons. But it's definitely doable. You can also buy used curriculum, used books on Facebook, Marketplace, on eBay, on Craigslist, on at thrift stores, at like the half price books, like those type of places. So don't think, oh, I can't afford it, it's too expensive. Find what you're looking for and then try and find it used. And so last year, this school year, the majority of our curriculum I bought used, and they look new. So that's fine with me. And I also bought a lot of like PDFs where I would print, or the kids would just look at their iPads or on the computer instead of like looking at a textbook. So I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can go about doing homeschool on a limited budget. But also they sell curriculum, like full boxed curriculums, how they call it, where you order everything. It has the teacher manuals, it has the textbook, the student workbook, it has, exams, answer sheets, things like that, manipulatives, activities, all of that. And you order it all, you order all your subjects, it comes in, and you have everything. And these publishers literally tell you day by day, day one, read this page to this page, do this workbook, do this activity, say this. Literally you're reading from the book. And so if you feel like you need more guidance, then definitely I encourage you to buy box curriculum. As a teacher, that's what teachers do at school. They have their teacher's edition, and the teacher's edition tells you what to say. Of course, you kind of read it ahead of time, and you kind of add your own, your own style to it. And you can do that in your homeschool as well. But there's been times that I literally just read from the book. I don't have a style in math. I read straight from the textbook, from the teacher's manual, and what the manual says for me to write on the board. That's exactly what I write on the board. And so there's nothing wrong with that. But, like I said, just research. There's, big publishers out there. Some are really expensive. Some are middle of the road. Some are free. Okay, number 4, choose a teaching method. So every child learns differently. So it's important to try and find out what your child's learning style is. A lot of times you won't find that out until once you get started. I would say for me, I have a certain teaching style, but I have 2 kids. Well, guess what? To my luck, they each learn completely different. They're completely different from each other. So I started out with one certain type of curriculum with my oldest. It didn't work. So then I changed it. Didn't really work that well. I changed it again. Finally, it was a good fit for him. For my youngest, the same. It's like trial and error until you find what fits for them. So our first year, last year, I would say it was kind of like we were trying to figure out our rhythm. But this year, I kind of knew what their styles were, and so I would say this year it really has been a rather smooth year. So I encourage you, if there's tears, that's a good sign. That's not their learning style. That maybe not be the right curriculum for them. If there are tears on you, so you kind of have to figure that out. It's like a dance. And so I would say that is the hardest part with starting to homeschool, figuring out where your children's learning style is. But you have to start and then go from there. So you're gonna hear in the homeschool world, you're gonna hear terminology like Charlotte Mason, unschooling, I'm a classical, I'm eclectic. There's a lot of terminology out there that's used in the homeschool world, and so you can Google those and then see if that kind of fits what you're looking for in your homeschool. You can try it out, and if it doesn't work, then try something else, and then just go from there. Number 5 is you have to withdraw your child from public school. So if you decide to homeschool and it's still your current school year is still going on, then you will have to withdraw your child. Again, look into your state requirements, look into what your district requirements are. Here in Texas, like I said, it's really relaxed. There's really nothing that we have to do to like officially file to be a homeschool family. But out of courtesy, I went in person to our school, and I talked to the office, and I, told them I want to withdraw my son. I gave them the reason. I signed, they asked me to sign a form. I signed, and a lot of people are like, oh, that I don't have to. The law doesn't require it. It's true, but I would rather just have something in writing that I am withdrawing my child, as opposed to, they change administration, and I don't know. I just would rather have it written down, even though we don't have to. It was more out of courtesy. But because I withdrew my youngest in the middle of the year, he wanted to be homeschooled first. Let me add that. But he also enjoyed going to school, and he loved his teacher and he loved his classmates. So I didn't want to just withdraw him and that's it. We kind of made it a process. We waited till the end of the week. We both, we went to the school. I talked to the teacher beforehand. She already had all his things ready. The entire class said goodbye to him. He was able to say goodbye. So it was like closing a chapter for him. And so I highly encourage, if you're going to do that, if you're going to withdraw your child in the middle of the school year, then if they want, of course, every situation is different, but if they want, then maybe do something that closes that chapter. And so I feel like that really helped my youngest. And so that's just a suggestion. I didn't have to do that with my oldest. He finished his 5th grade, and we just never enrolled him for middle school. And so we didn't have to do anything for him. Okay. And my last suggestion is to get connected with local homeschool groups. And so, that may be necessary for you, or that may not be necessary for you. I feel it's important for you as the teacher, just to have other adult interaction. Also in my world, being that I was a public school, I was an educator, the majority of my family are teachers or counselors or administrators. All my friends are teachers. I mean, you become friends with who you work with, really. And so in my world, I was the only one to decide to homeschool. I really didn't have anybody I could model or ask, or like, hey, can you guide me? Can you tell me what to do? I was kind of like the one and only. And so joining homeschool groups in my area has been a lifesaver for me. I can ask moms, hey, what do you do when this happens? Or what curriculum do you use for that? Or terminology that I didn't know. It was a learning curve, like I said. And so, it was more for me. I needed the interaction. I'm a very social person. I went from seeing hundreds of people a day to just me and my kids. And I love it. Don't get me wrong. But it was an adjustment. My kids, on the other hand, my oldest, he's very introvert. He, excuse me. He's very introvert. He's very shy. So it's not a big deal for him to socialize. It really isn't. And my youngest, he is a very social person. But it was necessary for me. So we homeschool 4 days of the week, and we leave 1 day of the week to, do a field trip, or to do a meetup with one of our homeschool groups, or just, do a project, or go to the park, or whatever. And that kind of balances out of, for me, being home all day and also meeting people. And for my kids too, they get to interact as well. So I highly encourage that you get connected with a homeschool group. Facebook is a good resource. You can search. If there are none in your area, then I highly encourage you to start your own group. In my city, there are a lot of homeschool groups. So I live in a very large city, but not in my neighborhood or in my side of town. And so we usually have to commute 30 minutes either north, 30 minutes south, 30 minutes west. And so I've started my own groups here in my area. And so that has worked out really good. You'd be surprised that even though you think you're the only homeschool family in your area, you're going to be very surprised to find out that there are actually more in your area than you thought. So, sometimes you have to be the one to start it. So I highly encourage that you do that. Homeschooling is a lot of work. Okay. It requires a lot of preparation, physically and mentally. Your kids sometimes your kids will test your patience. You're with them all day long. So I will say it's not for everyone, but even if you're going through a questionable season, a difficult season, don't get discouraged. Homeschooling is the best thing that happened to us. I feel we got closer to each other. Our faith has grown. I can make sure that we're reading the Bible and we're doing Bible study, things like that I used to just rely on my church to handle. I really didn't do that in my home, and now I have that opportunity. So like I said, it's not for everyone. You may find, this curriculum is not working, and you're trying something else, and you're gonna have your difficult times. I don't want you to think that homeschooling is just easy peasy. It's not, but nothing that is worth it ever is, right? So I highly encourage that you just get connected with the right people, surround yourself with the right people, make sure you have a good support system, whether that be online or whether that be in person, because I guarantee that it is so worth it. So I highly encourage you, and feel free to leave me comments, ask questions in the comments. If you know me personally, feel free to send me a message. I will put my Instagram in the description. You can send me a private message as well if you have any questions. Again, I am not an expert by any means, but I do have 1.5 years of experience under my belt, and I do have the perspective of being a public school teacher, and now I'm a homeschool teacher, and so I can give you my opinion on that. So I hope that this video blessed you in some way, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Bye.